Hey friends, what's going on? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tzadi Zayin of Masechta Shabbis, Daf 97. Alright, what can I tell you? It's a complex one. I hope you guys came here ready to think. I hope you didn't think I was just going to be telling you stories today. No way, not today. Well, a little bit. At the beginning there's a little bit of interesting Agadata, but then there's some real work. So remember, in the Mishnah, there was a makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan about if you throw something from Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah be'emtza, right? So we're going to discuss their makhloket. And then we're going to get a little bit into like the concept of chayav atolada b'makom av, when you're chayav when you do an av and a tolada, when you're chayav 2 korbanos versus 1 korbanos, and who says what. And that kind of stuff, but generally within the context of hotzah and ha'avara and throwing things and carrying things. So here we go. Daf Tzadi Vav Amud Beis, 5 lines from the bottom of the page. Tana Rabbanan, the rabbi started Mekoshesh Zet Slafchad. Okay, so yesterday at the end of the day we talked about the Mekoshesh Eitzim, the fellow who was either carrying trees or chopping down trees or gathering trees, whatever it was, but unfortunately we had to terminate that fellow. So we taught in a brayso Mekoshesh Zet Slafchad that this fellow was Tzlafchad. Who was Tzlafchad? The Benos Tzlafchad, right? That was the daughter. So the daughters of Tzlafchad came to Moshe Rabbeinu in the desert, and he said, "Our father died, and we're only daughters. We don't have any brothers. So, would we be able to inherit our father?" So that was the daughters of Tzlafchad. And then what the brayso is saying, that how come Tzlafchad died? So because he was actually the Mekoshesh Eitzim. V'cheinu Omer, and similarly it says, Vayiyu b'nei Yisrael b'midbar, vayimtzu ish v'gomer, that the b'nei Yisrael were in the midbar, were in the desert, and it says that there was a fellow who was being Mekoshesh Eitzim, and for that reason we terminated him. So and it says by the Benos Tzlafchad Avinu meis b'midbar. Our father died b'midbar. So it says that there was a Mekoshesh b'midbar. And interestingly, the Benos Tzlafchad say that their father died b'midbar. So he said, let's assume that Tzlafchad who died b'midbar is the same person as this Mekoshesh who was being Mekoshesh Eitzim b'midbar. Okay? So Divrei Rabbi Akiva, that's Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. So says Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira to Rabbi Akiva, Akiva, bein kach uvein kach ato osad litein esadin. You know what? Either way you slice it, you're in big trouble, Rabbi Akiva. Im kidvarecha haTorah kisaso avata megala oso. If you're right that the Mekoshesh Eitzim was Tzlafchad, well, the Torah didn't want to expose that it was Tzlafchad. All it says is that there was a fellow who was being Mekoshesh Eitzim in the midbar. Doesn't say Tzlafchad by name, and you are revealing that, oh, by the way, this was Tzlafchad. That's not very nice of you. Ve'im lav, and if Tzlafchad was not the Mekoshesh Eitzim, well, then atamotzi lazal oso tzadik. Well, then you're speaking, you're basically speaking libel against Tzlafchad, saying that he was this fellow who was Mekoshesh Eitzim and we killed him. When it's not true. I mean, so even if it is true, so if the Torah didn't want to tell us, how come you're, telling people? And if it's not true, well, then you're basically spreading false rumors about him. So ve'ela ha'gomer gzeir shava. But then the Gemara says, what do you mean that the Torah didn't reveal it and Rabbi Akiva is exposing it? Rabbi Akiva is just quoting a gzeir shava. Rabbi Akiva is saying, look, it says b'midbar by Tzlafchad. It says b'midbar by the Mekoshesh Eitzim, and there's a gzeir shava. We have a tradition, right? Of course, ein adam dan gzeir shava me'atzmo. A person's not able to make up his own gzeir shavas, and therefore, Rabbi Akiva is just saying, no, we have a tradition of a gzeir shava, and as Rashi says, if it's written as a gzeir shava, right, top Rashi on the page, v'imkein lo kisaso haTorah ta'avle k'mefarash. In which case, the Torah is not actually hiding it. Because if we have a Gzeir Shav, it's as if it's written directly in the Torah. So therefore, what does it mean that Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira is saying that Rabbi Akiva is exposing something that the Torah hid? What do you mean? We have a Gzeir Shav. If it's a Gzeir Shav, it means that the Torah is telling us that. So the Gemara answers Gzeir Shav lo gamar, that Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira didn't learn this Gezeira Shava. He didn't have this tradition of this particular Gezeira Shava from his Rebbeim. And Tosfos actually says something very interesting. In the Tosfos Gezeira Shava Lo Gamir, so Tosfos asks, Vim Toman, if you're going to say, V'ligmam Rabbi Akiva, Shu Kibla Mirabo, so what? So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira didn't learn that Gezeira Shava, but he's learning it now from Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbeinu Tam answers, Shehaya loim b'kabbalah minyan Gezeira Shava sheb'chol haTorah, v'zo haisi yisera ala cheshbon lefichach lo kibla. Apparently there was a fixed number of Gezeira Shavas. Okay? And therefore, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, he kind of had his list of Gezeira Shavas. Let's say there were 50 of them. I don't know. So he already had his 50. And this one wasn't included in the 50, if there were, in fact, 50. So, therefore, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira didn't have a tradition for this Gezeira Shava that Rabbi Akiva is mentioning. And, and there was no more room for this one. So, therefore, Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira didn't learn it. And as far as he's concerned, the Torah didn't expose Slavchad as the Mekoshe Sheitzim. Well, if that's the case, according to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, that Slavchad was not the Mekoshe Sheitzim, so then how come he died? So the Gemara answers me, Vayai Pilu Hava. Oh. So after the Chet HaMeraglim, which is this week's Parsha, so after the Chet HaMeraglim, so then the Yidden got in trouble and they weren't allowed to go to Eretz Yisrael. They had to wander around for 40 years. So it says that some people said, you know what, we're just going to go to Eretz Yisrael anyways. And those people got killed by Amalek, I think. So Tzlafchad was one of those people who tried to brute force their way in to Eretz Yisrael. Now there's another similar dialogue between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira about, exposing things that are hidden in the Torah. This was from last week's Parsha. Parsha's Ba'aloischa at the end. Right? So it says, that after Aharon and Miriam spoke Lashon Hara about Moshe, so it says that the Eibishter got upset at them, and he went away. Melamed she'af Aharon nitztara, the Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Akiva says, from the fact that it says that God got angry at them, at both Miriam and Moshe, both Miriam and Aharon, so it teaches that it wasn't only Miriam that got tzaras, even Aharon got tzaras as well. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, Akiva, venkach uvenkach, ata asu litenes adin. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, of course, says to Rabbi Akiva, says, look, Rabbi Akiva, either way you slice it, you're in big trouble. Im kidvarecha haTorah kisasa v'ata megala. Also, if what you're saying is correct, that Aharon also got tzaras, well, the Torah didn't want to tell us explicitly that Aharon got tzaras. It was hiding it from us, and you're coming and exposing it. Ve'imlav, and if you're not correct, that Aharon didn't actually get tzaras, atamotzi lazal oso tzaddik. Well, then you're spreading libel about Aharon to say that he got tzaras even though he didn't. So either way, you're in big trouble. Ve'ela oksiv bam. But what do you mean Rabbi Akiva is exposing something that wasn't written in Torah? It says bam. It says them, plural. Doesn't that mean that not just Miriam got tzaras, also Aharon? So Ahu ben Zifa ba'ama. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira would say, no, bam doesn't necessarily mean that the Torah is telling us that Aharon also got tzaras. It's just saying that the Eibishter was upset at both of them. Bam, both of them. God got upset. Right? Vayichar af Hashem bam vayelach. The Eibishter got upset at both of them and he went away. But it doesn't mean that they both got tzaras. Only Miriam got tzaras. Tani Kamandamer af Aharon nitztara. So now there's a brisa supporting the position that Aharon also got tzaras. Tichsiv vayifen Aharon and Miriam vini mitzaras. That Aharon turned away towards Miriam and she had tzaras. Tana shepana mitzar aso. That when it says that he turned away towards Miriam, means he turned away from his tzaras, i.e. he was already healed from his tzaras, and then lo and behold, he saw that Miriam got tzaras. So we see that Aharon got tzaras first, he was healed, and then he saw that Miriam got tzaras. Amr Shlakish, hachoshed b'chsherim, loke begufo. Somebody who suspects people who are innocent, so he gets stricken by his body. Now, something interesting, I had pointed out maybe like a month or two ago that there was an interesting poster that was in one of the local neighborhoods that was asserting that Magefas HaKorona, the coronavirus, is equal in gematria to, I don't know, something to do with women being modest or something. I thought that was a little silly. But my mom actually pointed out that you know what else Magefas HaKorona is equal in gematria? Choshed B'Chsherim. And there you go. And you say over here in the Gemara, Choshed B'Chsherim Loke B'Gufo. That if somebody's Choshed B'Chsherim, Taka gets sick. So maybe, L'maiseh, these fellows who wanted to make trouble by saying that, you know, women in Mea Shairim aren't dressing tznua enough, even though that's hard to imagine. And that's why everyone's getting sick, because of these women who aren't dressing tznua, which seems like a preposterous thing to say. But at the end of the day, they're being choshed b'chsherim. And maybe it's these fellows themselves who are suspecting innocent people. They're the ones who are causing the corona. Or maybe it's for some other reason. Dichsev, as the pasuk says, "V'hein lo ya'aminu li v'gomer," so it's Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, so the Eibishter says to Moshe Rabbeinu that, you know, so the Eibishter says to Moshe Rabbeinu, go and tell the Yidden that you're going to take them out of Egypt. Moshe says, "V'hein lo ya'aminu li v'gomer," they're not going to listen to me. So, yet God knew that that's not true, that the Bnei Yisrael actually will listen. So Moshe was being choshed b'chsherim. Here we had the Bnei Yisrael who were in fact going to listen, and Moshe was just assuming that they weren't going to listen to his message that God was going to take them out of Egypt. Amar lo. So God says to Moshe, look who's talking. Hein ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim v'ata ein sof chalahamin. So God says, Moshe Rabbeinu, look who's talking. The fact of the matter is that the Bnei Yisrael are believers, the sons of believers. Whereas you are actually not going to believe me. Hein ma'aminim dichsev vayamin Hashem vayamin am. So the Bnei Yisrael are believers, as the pasuk says, that Moshe went to Egypt and told the Bnei Yisrael that God was going to take them out, and they believed him. Bnei Ma'aminim, and the sons of believers, v'hemin b'Hashem. As Avraham Avinu says, it says by Avraham Avinu that he believed in God. Ata ein sof chalahamin. However, you are not going to believe in God. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Yan lo emantem bi v'gomer. By the Mei Meriva, when Moshe hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock, so it says over there that because you did not believe in me, therefore you're not going to go into Eretz Yisrael. So God says to Moshe, says, look who's talking, and you're being choshed b'chsherim mimai delaka. And how do we know that Moshe Rabbeinu got stricken in his body? Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Vayomer Hashem lo od havei na yadcha b'chekecha v'gomer. When God was giving a sign to Moshe Rabbeinu, what was the sign that he gave Moshe to show that God sent him? Well, you will take your hand, put it in your chest, and then you will remove your hand from your chest, and it will be covered in saras. So we see that he got saras. So says Rava, and the Maisa some say it was Rabbi Yosef bar Chanina, that a good measure comes quicker than a bad measure, than a punishment measure. What does it say when Moshe Rabbeinu got saras as a sign? That he removed his hand from his chest, and at that point, that is when the saras got there. What does it say by the good thing, i.e., what does it say when he removed the saras from his hand? That he removed his hand from his chest, and it was already returned like his regular flesh. Micheko hu deshava kivsaro, already from when he had immediately returned his hand to his chest, at that point already the saras went away, at that point. It says when Aharon turned his staff into a snake. So it says that then Aharon made his snake back into his staff, at which point it swallowed up the other snakes of the Egyptian magicians. Amar Belazar, nes besoch nes. It was a miracle within a miracle. Obviously, of course, there was the miracle of the staff becoming a snake. Then there was the additional miracle of once already the snake turned back into a staff, the staff then swallowed up the other snakes. Alright, friends, back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah had said that if somebody throws something from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and there's a Rishus HaRabim in the middle, right? So there was a makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. Rabbi Akiva says that you are chayav, okay? And the Chachamim say that you are pater. Okay. Now, before we do this next part of the Gemara, I want to introduce two concepts. I believe that these are concepts that we saw way back in the beginning of the Masechta. So let's do a little refresher. The first one is called Kluta Kimashu Nacha, and the other one is called Yalfinan Zorek Mimoshit. Okay? Now, Kluta Kimashu Nacha means that once something goes, and we actually mentioned it the other day, I believe. Anyways, Kluta Kimashu Nacha means that once something goes into the airspace of a Rishus, it's as if it landed in that Rishus. Therefore, okay? We're saying, so what this would mean in our case is that when you throw something from one Rishus HaYachid, and then it lands in another Rishus HaYachid, however, it passes through a Rishus HaRabim in the middle, so if we say Kluta K'mo Shehu Nacha, then we would treat it as if this object actually landed in the Rishus HaRabim. And of course, if it landed in the Rishus HaRabim, well then, you're going to be chayav for Hotzah. Okay? And just one more point, in order for it to be considered as having passed through Rishus HaRabim, it would have to be lower than 10 Tfachim, right? Because above 10 Tfachim, it's a Makom P'tur, okay? So basically, and already you can kind of see how this is going to line up, right? That what we're going to want to say is that in order to say that there's a machlokas about Kluta K'mo Shehu Nacha Dami, we're going to have to say, that we're talking about throwing something lower than 10 Tfachim, which is pretty low. I mean, 10 Tfachim is pretty much like the size of like the height of a coffee table or something, maybe slightly higher. So you probably have to like throw underhanded or something like that. But in any event, so basically, Rabbi Akiva would say, Kluta K'mo Shehu Nacha, okay, that once it passes into this, airspace of Rishus HaRabim less than 10 Tfachim, it's as if it landed in Rishus HaRabim, in which case there was an Akira in Rishus HaYachid and Anach in Rishus HaRabim. And then Ki'ilu, when it then continued to go into the other Rishus HaYachid, it's as if Ki'ilu, it picked itself up, then did another Akira and plopped it down again in the second Rishus HaRabim. Okay? And that's why Rabbi Akiva would say that you are chayav. Whereas the Chacham would say, we don't say Kluta K'mo Shehu Nacha, right, that when it gets into the airspace of Rishus HaRabim, it's as if it landed. The Chacham would say, we don't say that, and in which case, all we have is an Akira in one Rishus HaYachid, Anacha in another Rishus HaYachid, ain't nothing wrong with that, and you're going to be pater, okay? That's Kluta K'mo Shehu Nacha. The other concept I would like to introduce is something called Yalfinan Zorek Mimoshit. Do you learn out throwing from passing? Now remember, of course, in the Mishkan, right, they would pass, the Bnei Merari would pass the beams of the Mishkan from one wagon to the wagon in front of it, and there was a Rishus HaRabim in the middle, right? So we know that when it comes to Moshit, when it comes to passing an item, okay, from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and it passes over Rishus HaRabim, okay, you are going to be chayiv, and that, because that's what they did in the Mishkan, and that was dafka above 10 Tfachim from the ground, okay? And therefore, if we say that the makhloket is between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim is when you threw an object above 10 Tfachim, so the question is, do we learn out Zorik from Moshe? Because we know, of course, if you would pass something from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and there was a Rishus HaRabim in the middle, you would be chayiv, because that's what they did in the Mishkan. The question is, do we apply that same thing to Zorik and say that you're going to be chayiv for throwing something as well? And that would be essentially Rabbi Akiva's opinion, that you'd be chayiv. Whereas the Chacham would say, we don't learn out Zorek from Moshit, and therefore while you'd be chayiv for Moshit, you'd be pater for Zorek. So that's sort of the two ways to kind of look at that. Okay. So let's see how the Gemara says it. So it says the Gemara, right? Basically from where we left off, right? So our Mishnah said that if you throw something from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and there is a Rishus HaRabbim in the middle, so Rabbi Akiva says you'll be chayiv, and the Chachamim say you're going to be patur l'maaseh. By Rabbah. So now Rabbah wants to know, l'mata me'asar pligei? So is the makhloket below 10 tefachim, where he threw something and it passed through Rishus HaRabbim below 10 tefachim? Uveha pligei, and this is the makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. The Marsavar Amrinon Kluta K'mashunacha, that Rabbi Akiva holds that once it is inside the airspace of Rishus HaRabbim, it's as if it landed in Rishus HaRabbim, and you're chayiv. U'Marsavar Lo Amrinon Kluta K'mashunacha, right? And the Chacham will say, we don't say Kluta K'mashunacha, and therefore it passed straight through the Rishus HaRabbim, did not land, and we had an Akira in one Rishus HaYachid, Anach in another Rishus HaYachid, and you're pater for that. Aval, l'mayla me'asara divrei akol pater. However, if you threw this object from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and it traveled through Rishus HaRabbim, and then in between there was a Rishus HaRabbim, but you threw the object above 10 tefachim. Now, of course, Rishus HaRabbim doesn't go up past 10 tefachim, so basically you threw it through a makom p'tur. So you're going to be pater. Everyone agrees. Even Rabbi Akiva says you're going to be pater. You didn't do anything wrong. You threw it through a makom p'tur. And everybody agrees that we don't learn out Zorek from Moshit. Okay, so the makhloket is purely below 10 tefachim. Do we say Klutuk Moshe Unacha? Rabbi Akiva says yes, the Chachamim say no. But above 10 tefachim, you threw it to a makom p'tur, there's really nothing to talk about. Odilma, L'mayla me'asara plige. Or maybe the makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim is davka above 10 tefachim. What's the problem? What could possibly be the problem if it's above 10 tefachim? You threw it to a makom p'tur. So, uveha plige, and this is a makhlokas. The marsavar yalfinan zorek mimoshit, umarsavar lo yalfinan zorek mimoshit. That Rabbi Akiva holds we learn out zorek from moshit. Therefore, sure, in a chinami, if we were just looking at zorek, you didn't necessarily do anything wrong, right? You threw an item from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and it passed through a makom p'tur, there's no problem. However, there is a problem, because we compare Zorek to Moshit, and since Moshit they would do in the Mishkan, they would pass something from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid over Rishus HaRabbim, and that was above 10 tefachim, so guess what? The same is going to apply to Zorek, even though, yeah, you can make your argument that, but it passed through a makom p'tur. I don't care. It's not about whether or not it passed through a makom p'tur or Rishus HaRabbim, whatever. The fact of the matter is, we compare throwing something to passing something. If you pass something from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid above 10 tefachim over Rishus HaRabbim, you're going to be chayiv. The same thing applies to Zorek, and that is that. And that would be Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Whereas the Chacham would say we don't learn out Zorek from Moshit, and therefore, even though you'll be chayiv for Moshit, good for Moshit, but you're not going to be chayiv for Zorek, you're going to be pater for Zorek. If it's above 10 tefachim. Aval lemata miyud. But what if it was below 10 tefachim? Divrei akol chayiv. Everyone's going to agree that you are chayiv. My time kluta k'mashu unacha damya, because both the Chachamim and Rabbi Akiva would agree, kluta kima sheunacha damya, that once it goes into the airspace of Rishus HaRabbim, it's going to be as though it landed in Rishus HaRabbim, and you're going to be chayiv. So that is the kasha, okay? So is the makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chacham below 10 tefachim, in which case it's a makhloket of do you say kluta k'mo shu'unacha damya or not? Or do we say that the makhloket is above 10 tefachim, and the kasha is do we say yalfin and zorek mimoshit or not? That's our question, friends. Rav Yosef. So it says Rav Yosef, Hamilsa ibayale Rav Chizda. Okay, so it says Rav Yosef, I asked this question to Rav Chizda. Okay. Ufashta niale Rav Amnuna meha. And Rav Amnuna actually answered it from the following brisa. Okay, it's exciting. What does the following brisa say? It says this: if you throw epis from a actually no, it doesn't actually say if you throw epis. it just says, because we're going to have to figure out is it talking about throwing, is it talking about something else? So we have a brisa that says, from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, Ve'over B'Rishus HaRabim Atzma, and it passes through Rishus HaRabim itself. So it's mamish passing through Rishus HaRabim. So that obviously tells us that we're talking about below 10 Tfachim. Because above 10 Tfachim isn't Rishus HaRabim. Rishus HaRabim doesn't go above 10 Tfachim, right? So the Brisa says, from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, for over Rishus HaRabim, and it passes through Rishus HaRabim Atzma, Rishus HaRabim itself. Rabbi Akiva Mechayev Chachamim Poter. And the Brisa says, Rabbi Akiva says Chayev, and the Chachamim say Poter. Now, Midikamer Rishus HaRabim Atzma, Pshita Lamata Me'asar Plige. Okay? So from the fact that it says Rishus HaRabim itself, so obviously we're talking about below 10 Tfachim. Because again, above 10 Tfachim is no longer Rishus HaRabim. Rishus HaRabim does not go above 10 Tfachim. So we're talking about below 10 Tfachim. Fine. Uvimai, and what exactly is he doing? Is he throwing something below 10 Tfachim? Maybe he's just walking with something. Maybe he's carrying something below 10 Tfachim. So if we're saying that it's talking about, he's walking something below 10 Tfachim. I don't know what that even means. I guess he's carrying something in his hand, and his hand is within 10 Tfachim of the ground maybe. And we want to say that he walks 4 amos with it, and that's where he's chayiv. But that doesn't make sense. But come on. What? He'll only be chayiv if it's within 10 Tfachim of the ground. But if it's above 10 Tfachim of the ground, then it'll be potter if he walks with something above 10 Tfachim. Amar Rebbe Lazar, but didn't Rebbe Lazar say just the other day on Daf Tzadi Beis, I believe? Amar Rebbe Lazar, Hamotzi Masri L'mayla Me'asar Chayev Shekei Masa B'nei Kahas. That if somebody takes out, I guess meaning somebody carries something above 10 Tfachim, you're going to be chayev because the B'nei Kahas, after all, carried above 10 Tfachim. So when this brisa says that if somebody that from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, within Rishus HaRabim itself, i.e. within 10 Tfachim of the ground, and we're saying that it's a makhloket of R Akiva and the Rabbanan. So that's clearly not talking about carrying something 10 amos, because 4 amos, because when it comes to carrying below 10 Tfachim, above 10 Tfachim is irrelevant. Shelalav bizorek. Rather, what must it be talking about? Must be talking about throwing an item. Ulamata me'asara ud'mechayev l'mayla me'asara l'mechayev. And what we're saying is that, according to Rabbi Akiva, Davka within 10 Tfachim is where he says that you are chayev. However, if you would throw this object from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and it would be above 10 Tfachim, everyone agrees, both Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim agree, you would be pater. Shmamina, bekluta k'mashu nacha, plige shmamina. So we see that the makhloket is between Rabbi Akiva and the Rabbanan is when you throw something from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid, and there's a Rishus HaRabim in the middle, and it's below 10 Tfachim from the ground. And the makhloket says, do we say kluta k'mashu nacha or not? Rabbi Akiva says, yes, we say that, and it's as if it landed in Rishus HaRabim. And according to the Chachamim, we don't say kluta k'mashu nacha, and it didn't land in Rishus HaRabim. There was an akira in one Rishus HaYachid, anacha in another Rishus HaYachid. Ain't nothing wrong with that, and you are pater. Ufliga de Rabbi Lazar. And the Maisa, this argues on Rabbi Lazar. Right, that we say that it's only a makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim when it's below 10 Tfachim. That argues on Rabbi Lazar. How come? To Rabbi Lazar, Mechayev haya Rabbi Akiva afilu l'mala miyud. That Rabbi Akiva would say chayev even above 10 Tfachim. V'adikatani Rishus HaRabim atzma. Then what about this brisa which says Rishus HaRabim atzma, which means lower than 10 Tfachim, and the brisa is saying the makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim is nafka below 10 Tfachim. So how could Rabbi Lazar, the Amora, be saying that the makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chacham extends even when it's above 10 Tfachim? Lodiacha kochan de Rabbanan is to teach you the strength, the extremity of the Chacham's opinion, which is that even when it's below 10 Tfachim, it's still going to be pater. Okay. Ufliga de Rav Chilkiah bar Tuvi. And then this opinion, however, of Rabbi Elazar that says that the makhloket is even above 10 tefachim argues on Rav Chilkiah bar Tuvi, the Amar of Chilkiah bar Tuvi, Toch Shlosha Divrei Hakol Chayav, that within 3 tefachim of the ground, everyone agrees that you are going to be chayav. Chachamim also would agree that if it's within 3 tefachim, that if you throw something from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah, and it goes through Rosh Hashanah, within 3 tefachim of the ground, even the Chacham would agree that you would be chayav. Because within 3 tefachim of the ground is considered as if it's like in Rosh Hashanah mamish, as if it landed in Rosh Hashanah. The Ma'ila Me'asar Divrei Hakol Pater. Above 10 tefachim, everyone agrees pater. Even Rabbi Akiva agrees pater. So clearly that is different than Rabbi Elazar's opinion, where he says that they even argue above 10 tefachim. Migimel ve'ad yod banu makhloket Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan. Where is the makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbanan? Because remember, lower than 3 tefachim, even the Rabbanan would say you're chayav. Above 10 tefachim, even Rabbi Akiva would say pater. Where's the makhloket? It's between 3 and 10 tefachim. The Rabbi Akiva says pater. No, not true. Rabbi Akiva says chayav, and the Chachamim say pater, and it's a makhloket about do we say kluta k'mo shu'unacha dami or not. Tanan Ami Achim even learn in a brisa like this. B'soch gimel Divrei Hakol chayav. That within 3 tefachim of the ground, everyone says that you're going to be chayav, even the Rabbanan say that. L'mayla miyud einu ela mishum shvus. Or, if you throw something from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah, and there's a Rosh Hashanah in the middle, and you throw it above 10 tefachim, mida oraisa, there's nothing wrong with that. It's passing through a makom p'tur. We don't learn out Zorik from Moshit. The only problem is that it's a din d'Rabbanan. D'Rabbanan, they say, look, do not throw something from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah if it's passing through Rosh Hashanah above 10 tefachim, unless you have made an eruv between your Rosh Hashanah and your friend's Rosh Hashanah that you're throwing it to. However, but if you're throwing it from your property to another one of your properties, from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah, and you own both of them, then the Chacham don't say that it would be a problem, it would be completely mutter. You wouldn't have to make an eruv. Okay? Migimel v'ad asara, Rabbi Akiva Mechayev Chacham Potrin, and the Brisa finishes by saying that if you throw something from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah through Rosh Hashanah, from 3 tefachim to 10 tefachim, that is where we have our makhloket between Rabbi Akiva and the Chachamim. Rabbi Akiva says chayav, the Chachamim say pater. Omar Mar, we said earlier, Imhayu Rishuyos Shalo Mutter. So we just said that if both of the Rishus HaYachids belonged to this fellow, he owned both of them, then it would be mutter. There would be nothing wrong with throwing something from one Rishus HaYachid to another Rishus HaYachid by way of Rishus HaRabim above 10 tefachim. If both of those properties, if both of those Rishus HaYachids belong to this guy who's throwing it, it would be 100% mutter. So let's say that this is a problem for Rav. The Itmar, as we have a makhloket Amoraim between Rav and Shmuel. If you have 2 houses opposite one another in Rishus HaRabim, so basically 2 Rishus HaYachids with the Rishus HaRabim in the middle. Rabbi bar Rav Huna Amar Rav Asur Lizrok Mizeh Lazeh. So Rabbi bar Rav Huna says in the name of Rav that you're not allowed to throw from one house to the other. Shmuel Amar Mutter Lizrok Mizeh Lazeh, where Shmuel says it's allowed. Now, obviously from the fact that Shmuel is saying that it's allowed, we can't be talking about where 2 different people own the houses, because the Chacham say that you wouldn't be allowed to do that without an eruv, right? So it must be talking about where the same person owns the house. Shmuel is saying you're allowed to throw it. It's mutter to throw it from one Rosh Hashanah from one house to the other house over Rosh Hashanah above 10 tefachim. It's mutter, and just like that brisa that says that as long as the guy owns both of them, it would be permissible. But Rav says that it's forbidden. But what about this brisa which says it would be permissible? So the Gemara says it's not a kasha on Rav. Because Vilav miukimna lai kigon demidal echad umitate echad dezimne nafel v'asi le'asuye. The Gemara says, nah, it's not a question. Because this is a brisa, this thing about two houses on either side of Rishus Harabim. It's talking about, well, not a brisa, I guess makhloket Amoraim, between Rav and Shmuel. Itaka comes up in Eruvin. We're going to learn about it soon enough in Eruvin. And we said that it's talking about where one house was taller and the other one was shorter. So therefore, it's a little bit of a more complicated throw, right? And therefore, if you're higher up, you have to, calculate it properly that you get it to the lower house, or if you're on the lower house, you got to calculate it properly so it gets to the mirpeset and the higher house. It's a more complicated thing, and that's why Rav is saying not to do it, because we're concerned that because it's more complicated to calculate your throw properly so that it gets where you want it to go, so there's a bigger chance that you might not hit your target and it'll land in Rishus Harabim, and you might then pick it up and take it where you want to take it, and that is Rav's concern. But if it was simply like two regular chatzers and you're throwing it from one chatzer to the other chatzer and it's like the same level, so Rav would not have a problem with that because he owns both of them. And the concern about, meaning, and we're saying Dafka, we're concerned that the guy's going to pick it up from Rosh, if he misses, he's going to pick it up and take it in, not just say, well, the concern might be that if you throw it from one Rosh Hashanah and you miss, then it'll be Hotzah, because it was an Akira Rosh Hashanah and Nachum Rosh Hashanah. No, that's not the concern, because it wasn't his intention. It'll be misasek, right? He intended to do something mutter, something also ended up happening, so that wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is that Rav is concerned that because they're different heights, and it's a little bit of an awkward throw, so it might land in Rosh Hashanah, and then you'll go pick it up and take it where you want to go, and that'll be a problem. Okay, so Rav Chizda said to Rav Hamnuna, Amrila, Rav Hamnuna Rav Chizda. Some say Lamaise. Rav Hamnuna said to Rav Chizda, okay. Minaha milsa dam Rabbanan kopachus migimo kalavu dami da. Where is this thing that the rabbis say that anything that is within 3 tfachim of each other is lavud? Who remembers what lavud is? Lavud is exactly this. That when you have two, usually, so interestingly, there was a Rashi on Daf Ches Amud Aleph, which says that V'lo amrinan lavud el b'mechitzis. So what's lavud? Lavud is a halach l'moshe misi. Well, we don't know that yet. All right, I guess I gave it away. Sorry, I gave it away. Ruined everything, right? Ruined the element of surprise. Anyways, lavud is halach l'moshe misinai l'maiseh. So, lavud is halach l'moshe misinai that says that, and it's dafka when it comes to walls. So if you have one wall, or even a pillar from a wall, and then within 3 tfachim of that pillar there's another pillar, we consider it as if the space in between is completely filled up and these are connected, right? And you see it often in a sukkah, okay? If you're building, more I think in Israel than in America, but maybe also in America, but so if you have those sukkahs with the soft walls, not wooden walls, kind of the cloth material walls, so you'll have these straps surrounding the sukkah. Now each one of those straps is going to be within 3 tfachim of each other. The point being that we can consider the point within 3 tfachim of each other as if they're filled up, and it's kilo as if you have a solid wall. It's like a nice little halach l'moshe misinai Eruvin hack. So the Gemara wants to know, how do we know this concept of lavud? So I already gave away the answer. Sorry guys, it's halach l'moshe misinai, but the Gemara doesn't know that yet. So the Gemara wants to know, right? Where does this concept of lavud come from? So Amar Lei, so whether this was Rav Hamnuna responding to Rav Chizda, or Rav Chizda responding to Rav Hamnuna, he said, so he wanted to say, meaning because we've been saying, I wouldn't even say we've been saying it. Also, it came up also at the at the very beginning of the Masechta when we were kind of doing a lot more of that Eruvini kind of stuff. That basically, if you have a platform and that platform is within 3 tfachim of Rishus Harabim, okay, so let's say you have a little, little tiny platform and it's 2 tfachim tall, okay. So we say that it's considered part of Rishus Harabim, and therefore, if you would throw something from Rishus Hayach and it lands on this little platform within Rishus Harabim, it wouldn't be considered, let's say, a makom p'tur or anything like that. It would be considered Rishus Harabim because it's within 3 tfachim. So the Gemara answers that how come that is? So because It's impossible that Rishus HaRabim is going to be completely flat. It's impossible. Some parts are going to be higher, some parts are going to be lower. Makhloket v'hitane is like a plane, right? Something that you use to flatten wood to make it perfectly straight. It's impossible that Rishus HaRabim is going to be perfectly straight. There are going to be things that are higher, there are going to be things that are lower, and therefore, this little platform that's less than 3 tefachim tall, that's lying on the floor in Rishus HaRabim, it's going to be considered part of Rishus HaRabim, just part of the ups and downs of Rishus HaRabim. But Gimel Nami. But if so, then how did they come up with the cutoff of 3? I don't know, there could be ups and downs that are more than 3 tefachim in Rishus HaRabim. Visu, and more so, Haditnana, Mishalshal Defanos Milamayla Lamata, right? We have a halacha by sukkah. If you, literally, I think it means to weave, but basically, if you have your walls of your sukkah that go from the top of your sukkah down to the bottom of your sukkah, down to the ground, and there are 3 or more tefachim of space between the bottom of that wall and the ground, so if there is more than 3 tefachim of space between the bottom of the wall and the ground, it's psula. Yet, if it's within 3 tefachim of the ground, so then it's kshera. And over there, it has nothing to do with the Rishus HaRabim being up and down, meaning I understand the Rishus HaRabim sometimes being higher, sometimes being lower, when you're talking about something that you're putting on the floor in Rishus HaRabim, and we're saying it's part of Rishus HaRabim because that's just part of Rishus HaRabim, that sometimes you have higher things, sometimes you have lower things, and here's an example of something you're putting on the floor and raising Rishus HaRabim a little bit, but this has nothing to do with raising Rishus HaRabim. This literally has to do with you have something that's within 3 tefachim of Rishus HaRabim, and we're just magically considering it like it's completely connected to the ground. Nothing to do with Rishus HaRabim going up and down. Apparently it has to do with some magic law when it comes to walls, that if it's within 3 tefachim of the ground, it's just considered connected. Right? So how do you answer that? So the Gemara says, well, actually, that's a good question. But there actually, I can answer you and tell you that there's actually a practical reason. It has nothing to do with Lavud over there. There's a practical reason why this wall is considered too far away from the ground. Because over there, it happens to be that by the walls of the sukkah, if there's more than 3 tefachim of space between the floor and the bottom of the wall, well, then little goats can get into your sukkah. And if little goats can get into your sukkah, then that means that it's not a proper wall. But if it's within 3 tefachim of the ground, little goats won't be able to get into your sukkah, and it'll be a proper wall. Okay, fine. So nothing to do with Lavud over there, that's just a technicality. Okay, but then the Gemara says, Tenach lamata l'mayla ma'ik l'meimar. Okay, well that answers when the space between the floor and the bottom of the wall is at the bottom of the wall. But what if the space that we're talking about is in the middle of the wall? For example, right, we talked about these straps that you wrap around the sukkah. Over there, that has nothing to do with goats getting under walls. Meaning, if we look at these straps, what is connecting these straps to make them considered a wall? They're not on the ground, so therefore it's not like they're part of Rishus HaRabim, part of the ups and downs of Rishus HaRabim. It's literally you have this strap that's 10 tefachim off the ground, and then you have another strap a little bit lower than that, that's 3 tefachim lower than that. That has nothing to do with Rishus HaRabim. That seems to be some magic law when it comes to walls, that if something is within 3 tefachim of another part of the wall, they're considered connected. And the Gemara says, you know what? You're exactly right. You know what? It is magic. It's halach l'Moshe Misinai that if you have 2 parts of a wall that are considered within 3 tefachim of each other, then magically they're considered like they are connected. That's why you can have this wall of your sukkah that's literally just 4 straps within 3 tefachim of each other, and they're considered like a wall and connected. Magically, they're considered connected. Okay, fine. That's how we learn out Lavud. Halach l'Moshe Misinai. Alright, Tana Rabbanan. Hazorik me Rishus HaRabim l'Rishus HaRabim, Rishus HaYachid be'emtza. Okay. So somebody who throws from one Rishus HaRabim to another Rishus HaRabim, and there's a Rishus HaYachid in the middle. Okay, fine. So Rebbe Mechayev. So Rebbe says that you are Chayev. V'chacham potrin. And Chacham say you're Pater. Okay, so again, you have one Rishus HaRabim, and then you have another Rishus HaRabim, and there's a Rishus HaYachid in the middle. Okay, Rebbe says that you're chayiv, and the Chacham say you're pater. Fine. Rav Shmuel Dami Tarvayu. Now both Rav and Shmuel say lo chayiv Rebbe ella b'rishus harabim mikora. Okay, that when what? No, b'rishus hayachid mikora. So when Rebbe says that you are chayiv, okay, that when you throw from one rishus harabim to another rishus harabim, and there's a rishus hayachid in the middle, that rishus hayachid has a roof on it. Kilu, imagine like a house, and you have, two windows, one on either side of the house. You throw epis from one rishus harabim, it goes through one window of the house, it goes out the other window of the house, and lands then on the rishus harabim on the other side of the house. Okay, so Rebbe says in that case, that's where you're going to be chayiv. Because we treat it as though the house is like filled up with stuff, and it's as if when the object went into the house, it like landed, and then Ki'ilu picked itself up again and went out the other window on the other side. And that is why you're chayiv. Aval, she'enu mikora, if there's no roof above this rishus hayachid, Ki'ilu, I don't know, some kind of, I don't know, like, remember, to be rishus hayachid, it just needs to be, 4 tefachim by 4 tefachim wide and 10 tefachim tall, and it doesn't necessarily have to have a roof. So if you just kind of throw it over that, well then you would be pater. Okay? So now Amar Rav Chana. So now it says Rav Chana. Amar Rav Yehuda. So it says Rav Chana. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, that Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Mechayev v'ya Rebbe Shtayim, that Rebbe would actually be mechayev this fellow 2 korban chatases. Achas mishum otzah v'achas mishum achnasa. One for otzah, one for achnasa. So you have this fellow. He threw an object from rishus harabim. It went into this house by way of one window, then went out of the house by way of the second window, and then landed in the other rishus harabim on the other side of the house. Now, what Rav Yehuda is saying in the name of Shmuel is that Rebbe says you're actually going to be chayiv 2 korban chatases. That when the object enters into the house, so you can be chayiv for achnasa, right? Going from rishus harabim into rishus hayachid, you can be chayiv for achnasa. Then, when we treat it as though the object lands in the house and then picks itself up again and does an akira and then goes outside back to, it goes through the second window into the other rishus harabim, so that is going to be hotza'ah, right? Going from inside the rishus hayachid to outside to the rishus harabim. So Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that you're going to be chayiv, that according to Rebbe, you'll be chayiv twice, one for hotza'ah, one for achnasa. Yosef Rav Chana v'kokashale. But Rav Chana was sitting and he had the following question. So does that imply that according to Rebbe, you're going to be chayiv, right? When you do an av in a tolada, you're going to be chayiv twice, once for the av and once for the tolada? Such as over here, we're saying that he's chayiv for hotzah and achnasa, even though achnasa is a tolada of hotzah. But we learn in a brayso, Rebbe Omer says, Rebbe, dvarim hadvarim eila advarim. No, it says at the very beginning of Parshas Vayakel, it says that Moshe says, eila advarim, asher tziva Hashem, la'asos osam, then it talks about sheshes yamim, te'asa melacha, etc., which is talking about Shabbos. And it says dvarim is plural, which is 2. We've seen this before. Dvarim is plural, which is 2. Ha dvarim adds another one, so that's 3. And eila is 36. So 36 and 3 is 39. Right? So elu lamites melachis shenemu l'Moshe b'Sinai. These are the 39 melachis that were said to Moshe at Har Sinai. And of course, the reason being to say that you'll be chayav for, if you do all of them, be'elam achas, you'll be chayav 39 korban chatases. But the point being that Rebbe seems to say that you're chayiv 39 korban chatases, you can't be chayiv any more than that. But if Rebbe would say that you're chayiv for the tolados b'makom av, well then it's not just 39 melachos, 39 korbanos you could be chayiv. You could be chayiv many more if you do tolados as well. So Amalei Rav Yosef. So now Rav Yosef says to Rav Chana, Mar aha masni la v'kashale the Rebbe ad the Rebbe. So Rav Yosef says to Rav Chana, he says, look, you learned this statement of Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel of saying that this Tana is going to be chayav twice. So you're assuming that statement of Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel is going on Rebbe's statement. That Rebbe had said that if you throw an object from one rishus harabim to another rishus harabim, there's a rishus hayachid be'emtza, okay, and Rebbe says that you're chayav. And Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel is saying that not only does Rebbe say you're chayiv, but he says that you're chayiv twice, one for otzah, one for achnasa, which obviously means that Rebbe says that you're chayiv b'tolad of makom av, and therefore we have a kasha because Rebbe elsewhere says that you only be chayiv 39 melachos and no more than that. However, says Rav Yosef, Anan ad Rabbi Yehuda masninan, v'lo kashalan. We learn this statement of Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel not to be going on Rebbe's statement, but on a statement of Rabbi Yehuda. There's a statement of Rabbi Yehuda where he says that you're going to be chayiv, and that is where Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel, that Rabbi Yehuda says that you'll be chayiv twice. One for the Av and one for the Tolada. And then we don't have any kashas. Remember, we're talking about Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda, the Tana, and Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel is the Amora. So now, the Tanya is, we learn in a Brisa, Merishus HaYachid, Lerishus HaRabim, V'avar Arba Amas Berishus HaRabim. Very, very, very exciting case. You have a fellow, he's standing in Rishus HaYachid, okay? And he takes a brick and he throws it into Rishus HaRabim, and he does such a good throw that it goes 4 amos into Rishus HaRabim. Okay? So basically there's two things that we're considering now. One is the fact there's Hotzah, that he threw an object from Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim, so that's Hotzah. But then again, there's also Ha'avara, right? Not only did he throw it into Rishus HaRabim, he threw it 4 amos deep into Rishus HaRabim. So there's also the fact that he threw something essentially 4 amos into Rishus HaRabim. Okay? So Rabbi Yehuda mechayev, v'chacham potin. So it says Rabbi Yehuda says that you're chayev, and the chacham say you're pater. And the question is, what does it mean that Rabbi Yehuda says chayev and the chacham say pater? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, and says Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, mechayev hay Rabbi Yehuda shtayim. That when it says Rabbi Yehuda says that you're chayev in this case, it doesn't just mean that you're chayev once. It means you're chayev twice. You're chayev 2 korban chatases, one for the hotzah and one for the ha'avara. Achas mishum hotzah, v'achas mishum ha'avara. The isa gadayte chadu the mechayev, because if it enters your mind to say that Rabbi Yehuda, when he says chayev, it means you're chayev 1 korban, well then, mechal d'Rabbanan patre legamrei. Well, that would mean that if Rabbi Yehuda says that you're chayav and it means 1 korban, then that means that the Rabbanan would say that you're completely pater. But how could it be possible that the Chacham would say that you're completely pater? At the end of the day, he at least threw something from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim, so he should be chayav for that at least. So rather, we want to say that says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Shmuel that when Rabbi Yehuda says that you're chayav here, it means you're chayav 2 korban chatases, 1 for hotzah, 1 for ha'avara, and we see that you're chayav atolada b'makom av. But the Gemara has questions. Mimai, who says that we're understanding this correctly? That Rabbi Yehuda says that you're chayav twice, the Chacham say you're chayav once. Dilma la'olam emalach Rabbi Yehuda chadu d'mechayev v'Rabbanan pater legamrei. Really? I will argue that Rabbi Yehuda says that you're chayav 1 korban chatas. Chacham say that you're chayav 0 korban chatases. But he threw something from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. How could this be possible? Where do we find this? Kigon de Amar, for example, the fellow he said before he threw the object, he said the following: that I want this thing that I'm throwing, let's say it was a brick, I want this brick to land right when it gets into Rishus HaRabim, right at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim. And this is the makhloket. So meaning, and of course that's not what happened, right? We said it's where a fellow threw something from Rishus HaYachid 4 amos into Rishus HaRabim. So he wanted it to land immediately at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim, but that's not what happened. His arm was a little too good, and he threw it 4 amos into Rishus HaRabim. And the following is the makhloket. The Rabbi Yehuda savar aminan kluta k'mashu unacha. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, we say kluta k'mashu unacha. And, right, v'isavida le'machshavto. And therefore, what he intended to do happened, meaning, he intended to throw this brick from inside Rishus HaYachid, and he wanted it to land immediately at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim. But that's not what happened. It landed 4 amos into Rishus HaRabim. However, according to Rabbi Yehuda, he says, Kluta kama shu'unacha. That immediately when it entered into Rishus HaRabim, it's as if it landed there, and then picked itself up and traveled another 4 amos. And therefore, it did in fact land at the very beginning of Rishus HaRabim, according to Rabbi Yehuda, because he says, Kluta kama shu'unacha. And therefore, he wanted this brick to land right at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim, And guess what? In fact, it did land right at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah because of Kluta K'mo She'unacha. For Rabbanan Savre, Lo Aminan Kluta K'mo She'unacha. Whereas the Rabbanan say that we don't say Kluta K'mo She'unacha, and therefore simply, right, V'lo Avida leMachshavto, and his intention was not executed. Kilu, he intended to throw something from Rosh Hashanah and it landed right at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, and that's not what happened. It landed 4 amos into Rosh Hashanah. And since what he intended to do did not happen, he'll be completely patur. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're going to be chayev since what he intended to do happened, which was that it landed right at Rosh Hashanah. But and therefore you're going to be chayev 1 korban chatas, but you're not going to be chayev a second. How come you're not going to be chayev a second one? Rashi says, "V'isaved leMachshavto." In Dibur Maskov, "V'isaved leMachshavto." Shenacha b'yitzias miyad, that it landed immediately when it went to Rosh Hashanah. Hilkav chayev mishum otzah. Therefore, he's going to be chayev for otzah. Aval mishum ha'avar lo mechayev. But he's not going to be chayev a second korban for avara. V'afagav dechashav le k'mashu unacha v'nekra v'unacha mishum dahav tolad of makumav. There you go. And even though since Rabbi Yehuda says kluta k'mashu unacha dami, and therefore, so he threw this brick from inside Rishus HaYachid. It landed 4 amos in Rishus HaRabim. Now we treat it, because of Kluta K'mashu Unacha, as though it landed right at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim, picked itself up, and then traveled another 4 amos. Now, he intended that it should land immediately when it hits Rishus HaRabim, and it did in fact land immediately when it hit Rishus HaRabim, because Kluta K'mashu Unacha. It then picked itself up and traveled another 4 amos. However, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you're not going to be chayiv for those additional 4 amos because you're not going to be chayiv for the tolad of makom av. So therefore, you can explain that actually according to Rabbi Yehuda, he wouldn't say that you're chayiv twice. He's only chayiv 1 korban, and the Chacham say you're not going to be chayiv any korbanos because he intended for it to land right when it hit Rosh Hashanah, but that's not what happened. It landed 4 amos into Rosh Hashanah, and therefore he's going to be completely patur. Aval atolada b'makom av lo mechayiv Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda would not be mechayiv for a tolada b'makom av, right? If you did an av and a tolada, Rabbi Yehuda would not say that you bring 2 korbanos, you'd only bring 1 korban. But then the Gemara says, lo salgadaitech. Don't say that. Because the Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, Rabbi Yehuda mosif afa shovet v'amedaktek. This was a Gemara that we had on Daf Ayin Hey Amud Beis, that we said that we have 39 melachos, and Rabbi Yehuda added another 2, shovet and medaktek. Shovet is like straightening out the threads of the warp on a loom, and medaktek is that after you've kind of like thrown the weft around and made some threads, you would smack it around a little bit to kind of loosen up the threads and make sure they're not too tight. Okay? So Rabbi Yehuda would add these additional 2 melachos, and Amrulo, and they said to him, Shovet areu b'chal mesach, medaktek areu b'chal orig. That Shovet is considered part of the av melach of mesach, of mounting the warp, and medaktek is part of orig, of weaving. So my love, the avdinu l'tarvayu b'adei adadi v'shma mina mechayiv Rabbi Yehuda atolad b'makomav. No. Rabbi Yehuda says that in addition to the 39 melachos, he added also Shovet and medaktek. Now, the Chacham said to him, Shovet and medaktek are actually tolados. And what do we see? That Rabbi Yehuda is saying that he did all 39 avos, and additionally, when he does these 2 tolados, he's going to be chayiv for them as well. So we see that actually Rabbi Yehuda is saying that you would be chayiv for the tolada b'makom av. So don't tell me that actually when Rabbi Yehuda says that when you threw something from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah and it landed 4 amos into Rosh Hashanah, he's only chayiv once, because he's not going to say that you're chayiv for tolada b'makom av. Actually, Rabbi Yehuda would say that you are chayiv for tolada b'makom av. So again, it says, right, my love, the avdinu l'tarvayu b'adei adade, that when Rabbi Yehuda says that he adds shovet and medaktek, mistama is talking about where he did these 2 together with the other 39 avos melachos, v'shmamina mechayiv Rabbi Akiva tolada b'makom av, and we see that Rabbi Yehuda would be mechayiv on the tolada even when you do them together with the avos. But then the Gemara says, read it with Agos Abach. He basically skips a bunch of words and he says, Le'olam emalach. Now skip down to the next line. Rabbi Yehuda atolada b'makom av lo mechayiv. No, really I'm going to tell you that Rabbi Yehuda is not going to be mechayiv for a tolada b'makom av. If you do an av and a tolada, you're going to be patur. You're not going to be potter. You're going to be chayiv only for the av. So what about when he adds shovet and medaktik? No, in the makhloket between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim over there is whether or not shovet and medaktik are avos melachos. Rabbi Yehuda says that they're avos melachos. So in addition to the 39 avos melachos, there's another 2 avos melachos. The Chachamim say no, actually those aren't avos melachos. They're tolados, and therefore they're not counted. Teda, and you should know that makes sense to say it that way. The Katani Rabbi Yehuda Mosif, that Rabbi Yehuda adds shovet and medaktik. Iyamar b'shlama avos, my mosif avos. I understand if you say that shovet and medaktik are avos, that's exact, right? What are you adding? You're adding to the 39 avos an additional 2 avos that Rabbi Yehuda considers avos, and that's shovet and medaktik. Iyamar tolados, my mosif. But if you say that shovet and medaktik are tolados, why would we be adding tolados to avos? Okay, it's apples and oranges. You can't add tolados to avos. You can only add avos to avos. So therefore, it must be that Rabbi Yehuda considers them to be avos melachos, and it's no proof that Rabbi Yehuda would say that you'd be chayiv for tolados in addition to avos. No, Rabbi Itmar Nami, Rabbi Yosef Dam Tavayu Lochiyev Rabbi Yehuda Ela Achas. Rabbi, you have a statement. Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef both say that Rabbi Yehuda would only be chayiv you one. If you do an av and a tolada, you'd only be chayiv once. Okay, so Rabbi Yosef wanted to say that when Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel, that, a certain Tana would be chayiv for twice. So Rabbi Yosef wanted to apply that to this makhloket between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. When you throw something from inside a Rishus HaYachid into Rishus HaRabim, and it travels 4 amos in Rishus HaRabim, they want to say that's where Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel, that Rabbi Yehuda would be mechayiv 2 korbanos, one for Otzah and one for Ha'avara. But in the end, we made the argument that actually Rabbi Yehuda would not be mechayiv twice. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel wasn't going on that. I mean, because either way, it seems like we'll have questions. Meaning, initially, Rav Chana wanted to say that Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel's statement was going on Rebbe, and that Rebbe would say that you're chayiv 2 korbanos. But we said, but Rebbe says that you're only chayiv 39, meaning you're not chayiv for the tolados b'makom av. So then Rav Yosef wanted to say Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel is going on this makhloket between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. But then in the end, we seem to be saying that Rabbi Yehuda would also say that you're only chayiv, that you're not chayiv atolados b'makom av. So it's a little bit hard to figure out where exactly Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel is going on sort of safely. Amar Ravina Ravashi, said Ravina to Ravashi, that which had entered our mind initially, the Mechayiv Rabbi Yehuda Stein. Initially we wanted to say that Rabbi Yehuda was chayiv, say you're going to be chayiv 2 korban chatas. Remember where we wanted to say that? That you would be chayiv 1 korban chatas for Hotza'ah and another korban chatas for Ha'avara. Okay? So Ravina asked Ravashi, he says, but I don't understand. Ilacha kabayla, lacha lo kabayla. Ilacha kabayla, lacha lo kabayla. Meaning, if his intention when he threw this object from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim was that it should land 4 amos into Rishus HaRabim, well then, that's all he intended to do, was to throw something from Rishus HaYachid, and it should land in Rishus HaRabim 4 amos later. He didn't intend that it should land at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim, pick itself up, and then land another 4 amos. No, he just intended that there's going to be an Akira in Rishus HaYachid, Hanacha in Rishus HaRabim, and that's what happened. So it was a little bit longer, but it wasn't necessarily an Akira and Hanacha and then another Akira and another Hanacha. No, it was just Hotzah from one Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim. He didn't intend that there should be like a Hanacha immediately at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim, so he should only be chayiv once. And if he intended that the thing should land immediately at Rishus HaRabim, right, and not to travel additional 4 amos, well, again, all he intended was that he should have Hotzah. He didn't intend that it should travel an additional 4, that he should be chayiv for Ha'avara as well. So Ravashi says, yeah, but it's when a person says, I don't really care where it lands. Wherever it lands, it lands. And in that case, he didn't have any specific intention. And that's why we would argue, theoretically, that Rabbi Yehuda would say that he would be chayiv for the Hanacha and Rishus HaRabim, right at the beginning of Rishus HaRabim, and then as if it picked itself up again and traveled 4 amos, and he'd be chayiv for the Havara as well. Pshita niskavin lizok shmona v'zarak arba harei kasav shem mishim. So the Gemara wants to assume that if somebody intended to throw an object 8 amos, okay, but he only threw it 4 amos. So the Gemara wants to assume that certainly you will be chayiv, because it's similar to if you intended to write the name Shimon, but you ended up only writing Shin Mem, shame. which is a word in and of itself. So we say you'll be chayiv. So here also, you intended to do something larger and you did something smaller. You intended to throw it 8 amas, but you threw it 4 amas. Okay, so the Gemara wants to assume that obviously you'll be chayiv. But niskaven lizrok arba v'zarak shmona ma'u. But what if you intended to throw 4 amas, but actually you exceeded your expectations and you threw it 8 amas? So do we say miyamin ha'apikle? Do we say, well, it did go 4 amas, right? It went even more than 4 amas. It went 8 amas. 8 is more than 4, so it went at least 4. But, or do we say, look, but at the end of the day, he didn't want it to land at 8 amas. He wanted to land at 4 amas. So v'lav hainu d'amar le'Ravina le'Rav Ashi v'amar le'Ba'omer kol makom shetirtze tanuach. So Rav Ashi, so the Gemara answers, well, isn't that the same thing that Rav Ashi responded to Ravina, that basically it's talking about, so it depends. In a situation where he says, I don't care where it lands, so in that case, he'll be chayiv wherever it lands. But if he intended to throw it only 4 amas, and he ended up throwing it 8 amas, so he should be pater. And the same would also apply if he intended to throw it 8 amas, so he threw it 4 amas, so he would also be pater, because it's not his intention. But then the Gemara says, you're going to say, yeah, but didn't we say earlier that if he intended to throw it 8 amas and we threw it 4 amas, obviously you'd be chayiv? Because 4 is, he intended it to go 8, which is, included in 8 is 4. And we say that's like shem mishimin. So we say, no, midami, are those similar? Hasam kamad lo ksiv shem lo michtiv le shimin. Hacha kamad lo zarik arba lo mizdarki la tamne. He says, no, shem mishimin is different than this case. Because literally in order to write Shimon, you have to write Shin, Mem, Ayin, Vav, Nun. So you're going to have to write literally the letters Shin, Mem in order to write Shimon. So if you stop after Shin, Mem, well, L'maisa, you were intending to do that anyway, so you're going to be chayiv. Here, you don't throw it like 1 amma at a time. You throw it, and it lands 8 amas later. And if you didn't, you weren't intending for it to land 4 amos. You were intending for it to pass over it, but not to land. And when it lands 4 amos later, that wasn't what you intended to do, and therefore you're going to be pater. Wow. That was summed up, huh? Woo! So, let's do a recap. So, we started off with a bunch of random agadas. It feels like it was yesterday. But, how do we know that Makoshi Sheitzim was Slavchad, according to R Akiva, and that Aaron got Saras, and being Choshe B'Ksherim, that you get in trouble, you get punished. Then we started to talk about what's the context for the makhloket between R Akiva and the Rabbanan when you throw an object from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah and passes through Rosh Hashanah. So the question was, is the makhloket davka below 10 tfachim? And makhloket, do we say kluta k'moshu nachadami? And Rabbi Akiva says, yes, we say it. The Rabbanan say, no, we don't say it. Or do we say the makhloket davka above 10 tfachim? And the kasha is yalfin and zorek mimoshet. So Rab Hamnuna says that the makhloket is davka below 10 tfachim. It's makhloket about kluta k'moshu nacha. Rabbi Lazar says that it's actually both. It's both below 10 tfachim as well as above 10 tfachim. Then we have Rav Chilki Bar Tovi, who says that the makhloket is davka between 3 tfachim and 10 tfachim. Below 3 tfachim, even the chacham agree that you're chayiv. Above 10 tfachim, even Rabbi Akiva says that you're pater. Fine. We talked about lavud being alach l'moshe misinai. Then we talked about if you throw something from Rishus HaRabim to Rishus HaRabim, and there's just a yachid in the middle, so Rebbe says that you're going to be chayiv if the Rishus HaYachid has a roof over it. Then Rav Chana said that Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel that Rebbe says you'll actually be chayiv for Otzah and Achnasa, to which we say, but that'll be complicated because Rebbe Davka says that there's 39 melachos to say that you're chayiv 39 korbanos if you do them all b'sho b'helam achas. But you wouldn't be chayiv more than that, which means that you would not be chayiv atolad b'makom av. So then, Rav Yosef wanted to say that actually the same Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel is going on a makhloket between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim when you throw something from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaRabim and it goes 4 amos into Rishus HaRabim, that Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel is saying that when Rabbi Yehuda says that you're chayiv, that it means you're going to be chayiv twice, one for Otzah and one for Ha'avara. Fine. Then at the end we ended off with, and then we ended up saying that no, maybe and Rabbi Yehuda likely doesn't hold of Hotzah of Tolad of Makum Av, and we brought a proof from the fact that we say that. We tried to bring different proofs, but in the end we say that both Rabbi and Rav Yosef say that Rabbi Yehuda is not Machayev Tolad of Makum Av. Fine. And then we talked about when you intended to throw something. 8 tvachim, 8 amos, but you threw it 4 amos, or 4 amos and you threw 8 amos, we say you're going to be pater because it's not the thing that you intended to do. Wow, friends, I hope you enjoyed that. Have a nice day. Peace.